Welcome to the College Basketball Bracket Science YouTube channel, your encyclopedia for the college basketball season and beyond. We got a special Saturday episode today where we are going to talk about the few teams that can win the national championship based on historic facts. So how this is going to go, I have 6 different stats/facts that I am going to label. And at the end, we are going to combine all these stats and we are going to label just 4 teams where if history were to repeat itself can actually win the national championship. We also have a tier 2 with 4 other teams that might miss one of these individual stats that we're going to talk about, but we're going to break it down. We're going to start, broad, have a bunch of teams that we'll talk about and slowly start cutting it back. If you like more stuff like this is going to be a regular occurrence, especially on Saturdays. Be sure to hit that like button. It helps us out. And subscribe to the show. We also do podcasts. We do other fun videos like this. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Bracket Science with 2 S's. So let's start with the broad one. This is going to be, the one with the most teams. So don't freak out yet. This is going to be the base of what our stats are going to be based on. So every national champion has been inside the top 57 in offensive efficiency. This is via KenPom. Pre-tournament and top 44 adjusted defensive efficiency. So teams that fit this, you got Illinois, Purdue, Arizona, Duke, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Michigan, BYU, Vanderbilt, Louisville, Houston, Virginia, Florida, Gonzaga, Nebraska, St. John's, NC State, Kansas, Villanova, Tennessee, UConn, Texas A&M, Iowa, Michigan State, St. Louis, St. Mary's, Kentucky, and Miami. Now, you might say, all right, some of these teams aren't going to win the national championship. Iowa might be a really good team. They're probably not going to win the national championship. And yes, I'm going to agree with you. But like I said, this is your base one. Now let's move on and cut it down a little bit. So 23 out of 24 champions, this is in the KenPom algorithm, have been in the top 21 in adjusted offensive efficiency. 22 of 24 champions have been in the top 29 in adjusted defense efficiency. So you got to be good on both sides of the ball. You got to have both of these. The notable outlier was the UConn team under Kevin Ollie, where they, were a heavy underdog to win the national championship and end up winning the national championship. So take out those, you got a lot better percentages. But here are the teams that currently fit this. So Purdue, they're second in offense, 29th in defense, holding on by a thread. Arizona and Duke in very good shape, 4th and 3rd for Arizona and 5th in offense, 4th in defense for Duke. Iowa State also in the top 10 of both. Michigan right there. BYU, Vanderbilt, Houston, Virginia, Florida, Gonzaga, and Nebraska. Yes, Nebraska is there. So keep all these in mind. We will, go over it at the end of the show, but these are some of the stats we're going to talk about. Now, a lot of people know about the Week 6 AP poll. Every national champion over the past 21 years has been in the top 12 of the Week 6 AP poll. Is this the most, is this the one that could change? Yes, I do believe so because the AP poll is predictions. However, you can make the argument that by Week 6, you still have that preseason talent where you're like, yeah, Michigan was going to be really good this year. Yeah, Duke was going to be really good. And you also have the teams like Arizona who started off fantastically and you're like, this team is awesome as well. So it kind of combines what has happened in the season and the preseason expectations. Maybe that can be the guideline for this Week 6 AP poll. But here are your teams: Arizona, Michigan, Duke, as noted, Iowa State, UConn, Purdue, Houston, Gonzaga, Michigan State, BYU, Louisville, and Alabama. I don't think many people would say Louisville and Alabama are national championship threats now. So you should be thinking that can kind of cut it back to probably 10-ish. Let's keep going. Let's talk about some more. Since 1989, other than teams named UConn, so UConn teams seems to be a very usual outlier. Only one national champion has not been a 3-seed or better. We talked about that UConn team under Kevin Ollie. That was a 7-seed. They were also a 4-seed a couple years ago. Doesn't matter in this one. We're not just going to include UConn because they are a projected top 3 seed, definitely projected 1 seed right now. So here's your potential 3 seeds and better, and this is obviously going to change. This is just based on our current bracketology. I do think the top 3 seeds are set. There's an argument that maybe Texas Tech could drop down for someone like a BYU, but I do think it's Texas Tech. So here's your top 3 seeds. As mentioned, it will change, obviously, on Selection Sunday. So we will keep recording episodes, updating them like this. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. But we got Arizona, Duke, Michigan, UConn, Nebraska, Illinois, Houston, Iowa State, Michigan State, Purdue, Gonzaga, and Texas Tech. Noticing a theme for some of these teams: the Arizonas, the Dukes, We'll talk about him a little bit more here. Now, this is a stat that I did not come up with. This one is courtesy of Bracket Facts. So be sure to go follow him on Instagram. He's got a lot of good nuggets on there. You can see his, his Instagram username up at the top. That's Bracket Facts. This was a good nugget by him. Every national champion since 2004, except for 2013-14 UConn, that Kevin Ollie team, the usual outlier, was ranked in the top 4 of the AP poll at some point during the season. These are all the teams that have been inside the top 4 so far. So Duke, Houston, Purdue, Florida, Arizona, UConn, Iowa State, and Michigan. So keep some of these teams in mind. And our final stat we're going to talk about before revealing our tiers, since 1998. I included this one last because there is 4 teams that it hasn't happened, so maybe the most fluctuated of them. 23 out of 27 national champions finished top 2 in their final conference standings. Now, this is all your power conference teams plus Gonzaga. If St. Louis or someone out of the A-10 were to win the national championship, St. Mary's and Santa Clara are also tied for second in the WCC behind Gonzaga if you want to include them. However, they don't meet any of the other criteria, so I didn't include them in here. But here's your top 2 teams in the conference standings as it stands right now. Duke and Clemson out of the ACC. You got UConn and St. John's out of the Big East. You got Arizona, Houston, and Texas Tech. Houston and Texas Tech are tied for second. Michigan, Michigan State, Nebraska, and Illinois all tied in the Big Ten right now, so included them all. Gonzaga, as mentioned, you have to include them in there. And then Florida, Arkansas, and Texas A&M is actually your top team in the SEC right now, so included them as well. So these are all the stats, which is going to break us down to teams that fit every single category, teams that miss 1 category, teams that miss 2 categories, and then some others that are notably left out. So let's start with the teams that fit every category. These are your tier 1 national championship threats. Arizona, Duke, Michigan, all would be number 1 seeds right now, and Houston. Now, actually, I did a video on this last season. Houston was a team in tier 2 last season because they weren't part of that week 6 AP poll, and they could have very easily won the national championship. So take that week 6 AP poll one with a little bit of a grain of salt, but they do fit the criteria in this season. Houston, a projected fringe 2 or 3 seed right now. We'll see if they can climb up to 1 seed status. Misses 1 category: Purdue, Iowa State, Gonzaga, and UConn. So UConn, probably the most notable one on here. You know, the other 3 are definitely threats, but UConn is your most notable one. They actually don't fit that 21 and 29 stat. So the 23 out of 24 in offensive efficiency and 22 out of 24 in defensive efficiency, top 21 and 29. UConn is not good enough on the offensive side of the ball right now, which is actually surprising, knowing Dan Hurley, a very good offensive coach. So tier 3 misses 2 categories. Michigan State, kind of in the same boat as UConn. Number 1 defense in the country, not quite there yet statistically on offense. Florida also misses 2 categories, notably with their rough start to the season. Now, just teams that are notable that were left out. Illinois, not quite there defensively yet. However, they're getting there. Texas Tech, BYU, Vanderbilt, Louisville, Virginia, Nebraska, St. John's, Kansas, and Tennessee. These are your national championship tiers as it stands right now. So as mentioned, we are going to keep recording shows like this. We're going to try and do this maybe 2 or 3 times the rest of the season. We will do one after Selection Sunday before filling out your bracket. So I based my bracket last year off of these stats. We're going to have another stat where it's going to be teams that you should just pencil in to the Sweet 16, because if history keeps going, these teams, you know, have a fantastic chance to make the Sweet 16. I won't spoil too much of it, but we're going to do a bunch of shows like that. So be sure to hit that like button if you enjoy stuff like this. Subscribe to the show. Like we said, we do a bunch of podcasts where we discuss ball. We do bracketology and stuff, and we post all our bracketology on Instagram at Bracket Science with 2 S's. Everyone enjoy the rest of ball. Come back for more shows like this. Till then, take care.